Alright, super quick tutorial about how to model like a brush or a grate or something of that nature. So what I'm going to do, I'll just start with this. I'm going to say give me maybe depth. No, it's width that I want. It's going to be just like a really like silly dense comb like this. I'll start with 41. Some odd number will give you even numbers in here. And I'll do 2 subdivs on the depth because I'll use this for 2 separate tutorials. So I'll just run through really quick. First one, so this is, I'll show you how to do a comb and how to do a grate, kind of like the silly easy way if you need to make smooth models, or I think it's the silly easy way. So this is my comb. I'm going to leave it a ridiculous thickness. And this is also assuming a comb that is has like equal space things. Some combs have like huge prongs and get smaller, and I don't want to deal with that. You can do that manually. Anyway, so I made an edge which is like 41 or however many prongs you need. Loops. I used an odd number because it allows me to select both of the edges instead of ending on just this like empty little guy here. Just going to extrude these. And you can do sort of 2 things if you're thinking ahead. So if you need this smooth and you want this to be sort of a harder edge here, you can leave that loop there and then extrude it and then extrude this down. And once again, just like sort of finish with that hard edge. And you can see that gives you like a relatively hard edge little comb, except for here where I grabbed also the back face. Cough. If you happen to, you're just like blocking this in and you maybe, I'm actually going to undo that and deselect this back face. So if you just like maybe block this in like low poly and you aren't thinking about smoothing it and you're like, cool, here's my comb. If you come back to this later, instead of, so you can harden the edges really quick if you need to. The first way to do that would just be to grab basically all of these faces here. So I want all these end faces again, because I don't want to manually go through and click on like every single one again. So let's marquee select all of this, and then Control, marquee select all of this, and that leaves me with only the selection on the back faces. I might just like scale these down a little bit, because it seems like they should get pointier. I don't know. I'm not using reference for this right now. And then I'll extrude those faces again, pull them out slightly, and this is all with the extrude manipulator. And I'll maybe scale these down, bring them out, and kind of like maybe scale them down even pointier. I don't know. So I mean, now I have nice controlled rounding off of my edges. But if up here I wanted to have something more like a hard line up here, if I didn't want to go through and manually smooth all of this, or if I didn't want to go through, so I'll add one edge loop on the top here, and then I'll get rid of that pulling. But you can see these are still really rounded. If I wanted them to be like really sort of tight, square, hard edges like this, I don't need to go through and manually position all of these. What I can do is sort of cheat and add multiple edge loops at a time with my multi-cut tool. Weird. Strangely bright material. So I'll just go into my multi-cut tool, Control Shift X, where you can find it under Mesh Tools, and I will click outside of my model, hold down, press and hold Shift, and drag that all the way across my model. And when I release, it'll just cut in a bunch of edge loops. You can see it's pretty much manually been hardened thusly. The other thing that you can conceivably do is, it's really creepy looking. So you can see that maybe these little bristle things are supposed to be more square. They're a little bit round. That's because I've hardened some of these edges. I could go through and just insert another edge loop. This really all depends on the shape you're looking for. I mostly just wanted to show you the multi-cut tool. But if I had another edge loop here, it'll square off those edges a lot. Down here, we'll also square off those other edges. And then there's still like, maybe a little hard to see, but there's a little bit of pulling in here. You could fix that just by going in and adding more edge loops like this if you wanted to, and that would square off those edges even more. But again, that's kind of a pain. You could conceivably also use the offset edge loop tool. The downside of that is that it seems to stop as soon as they can't run parallel to each other, so like it doesn't super work very well. But you can also just duplicate one of these prongs multiple times. But anyway, that's mostly the comb. Again, I just wanted to show you guys the multi-cut tool. So if I have a grate, maybe something like this, perhaps. I really don't feel like going around and doing this entire thing, so I'm just not going to. I'm going to edit mesh bridge this, and bridge that. Now I have a solid little doodad there. And I will delete these edge loops because I'm trying to make a point and they don't serve my purpose. So there's this. So again, if I wanted to maybe round out these edges a little bit, if I had a grate and this was like, you know, a grate, very long grate with a lot of these little holes in it, I could 100% fudge that. So again, I'll just go into my top view, pull up my multi-cut tool, and I'll just shift, click outside my model and then drag, and it'll snap it in 15-degree increments. In this case, I just want it to be straight. I usually just want that to be not super curvy. And once I add that in there like that, you can see that it's pretty much rounded out the object. I deleted an extra loop down here. Multi-cut to the rescue! But yeah, so that's created like a nice sort of rounded effect here without me having to manually go in and add edge loops. Like, oh, like I need to put an edge loop here and like try to get it kind of close-ish here, but it's not. And then like this is completely different. So I don't know. Multi-cut's just kind of good for like casually hacking across materials like that.